Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Raising Cane's studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Lundy Gras. Hope your week's off to a good start. Maybe you're working today. Maybe got a couple of days off. Either way, appreciate you making us part of your day. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And we got a full weekend of reaction. Baseball, basketball, uniform patches, trade potentials, free agent stuff. We got it all over the course of the next 2 hours, so lock us in. Let's crank it up the way we do every single day with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
Opening weekend in the rearview mirror for LSU baseball. They're back in action this evening, 6 o'clock against Kent State. But 3 games in the rearview, as I mentioned, and they get all 3 in the win column over Milwaukee. I'll say this before we get into all that we saw over the weekend. I've watched a lot of teams from the North come down to the box for opening weekend and just look awful. They did not. Milwaukee has a nice club. They really put together competitive at-bats often. I know that they set a strikeout record, so we'll get to that too. But I thought that some of their at-bats, especially against Case and Evans early, were very, very good. I thought that they gave LSU a run for their money on Friday. I thought they gave LSU a run for their money on Saturday. They ran out of pitching on Sunday, but they did put up a fight in that game as well offensively. Milwaukee doesn't stand up with the teams in the SEC, and I'm not trying to make it something that it's not, but I've just seen teams represent themselves a lot worse than Milwaukee did for 3 days in Baton Rouge. And I think that team will probably win some games this year. I think they'll be a tough out in their league. But this is about LSU, and that's the most important thing. So let's kind of get into that. There was some really good stuff over the weekend. There was some not good stuff over the weekend. Let's start, for the sake of optimism and vibes, we'll start with the good stuff, okay? LSU obviously set a series record for the history of the program for strikeouts in a 3-game set. LSU in this weekend struck out 49 Milwaukee Panthers over the weekend. That is a testament to the depth. That is a testament to the stuff that LSU has on this staff. Now, you can suggest it's a small sample size against an overmatched team that hadn't been outside yet, and all that is correct. But LSU has led the country in strikeouts in back-to-back seasons. They did it with the Holman Jump team with Griffin Herring 2 years ago, even though they didn't even make a super. And then, of course, they did it with Anderson and Ianson and Shores last year. So this is a track record that Nate Yeske is developing. He has a staff that over his 2 years and 1 weekend led the nation in strikeouts. And so this is something that they're recruiting to and that they're executing to. And they missed a ton of bats over the weekend. The most impressive outing over the weekend was by Cooper Moore. Cooper Moore had a good year at Kansas last year. His ERA was a tick south of 4. He made a lot of starts. He started some Fridays for him. But something that I asked him about after his start on Saturday was like, LSU has a track record now in this program of taking transfer pitchers and really elevating their game. Skeens is the most obvious example. I'm not going to point to that really ever with anybody else because I just don't know how. You're not going to have anyone that's comparable to Paul Skeens year in and year out. But you saw Anthony Ianson take a huge jump. You saw, lack of a better term, Gage Jump take a huge jump. You've seen pitchers come in from other places and really blossom at LSU. I would suggest that Zach Cowan had a great year last year. And so I asked Cooper Moore on Saturday after his start, I said, hey, like LSU's had a lot of starters come in from other schools and really improve. Have you seen yourself improve? He said 100%. I've gotten significantly better. Now, the Cooper Moore that we saw on Saturday was the quintessential version of what I think he can be. He was 93, 94 with the fastball pretty much all day, down to 92 a little bit at the end. But he filled up the strike zone, did not go to a 3-ball count one time in the game. No 3-ball counts from Cooper Moore. That's incredible stuff. And obviously, not going to a 3-ball count, he didn't walk anybody either. And he was in the zone. He was constantly ahead. He threw a first pitch strike to 18 of the 24 hitters he faced. And then his changeup was just vanishing. It was just falling off the table. And Milwaukee never really adjusted to it. He was on absolute cruise control for the majority of the game. His final line was 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. He gave up the home run. Did not walk anybody. Had 11 strikeouts. I love no walks. I love filling up the strike zone. I love missing bats. I love the straight changeup. It's my favorite pitch in baseball. Strike one, also a very important pitch. He just did all of that, and I thought he was excellent. There's a reason why in my preseason projections I said I think Cooper Moore makes 10 SEC starts. I think he is the most likely weekend starter moving forward throughout the season at LSU because he's got a track record for it and he's just got a repertoire. I don't think I'm penciling him in as a Friday night guy for this team, but I love him on Saturdays and I think he would be a force on Sundays. Here's the small issue here with Cooper Moore, and I'm not going to speculate any further than exactly what I tell you because I don't know. But Cooper Moore came into the post-game press conference, met with us on Saturday, and his right pant leg had been spattered with blood. There was blood all over the place, and one of his fingers had a Band-Aid on it. So he said it was a cut. I'll take his word for it. I'm not here to speculate one game into the season. But we understand that blisters happen to pitchers. There's your speculation. I don't know what happened, and we'll see if he's ready to go this coming week. But all I can tell you is he came into that post-game press conference, and clearly his finger had been producing a significant amount of blood. Why? Where it came from? I don't know, but that's something that we're going to certainly pay attention to as you move forward because Cooper Moore was excellent in this game. I look at some of the other guys that pitched, and we're sticking with the pitching for this segment. Gavin Guidry on Friday was sensational. 2 innings, 1 hit, 5 strikeouts. The hammer was on, and he also was throwing that good new straight changeup that he's developed, and the fastball's 92. And I like his demeanor on the mound. I like his pedigree and what he's been through over the course of his 3 years at school that suggests that he's got what it takes to pitch at the end of games. He does not have the best stuff in LSU's bullpen, not by a long shot. But he's got a great breaking ball that Milwaukee had no chance against. And he's got a third pitch now with the changeup that can keep hitters off of his breaking ball and off the fastball to an extent. And I just think he's going to be a real force. I saw him in the fall twice, and both times I saw him in the fall, he was just racking up strikeouts. And he was striking out some of the best hitters on LSU's team. And so the Gavin Guidry that we saw on Friday is the guy that I've seen a few times. Speaking of the back end of games, I'm looking at 2 guys who we saw over the weekend in the spots in which they were used, and I'm going, this feels like an end-of-the-game guy. When things got hairy on Saturday and Callan was out there and he got him down to the last strike and then couldn't get the final out and they flared a ball into center field and then all of a sudden the tying run's on base and the go-ahead run's in the box, they went to Grant Fontenot. And Grant Fontenot took his warm-up pitches and he took the baseball with the tying run on first base and he hummed it 98 miles an hour. And then he got the ball back and he threw the next one at 98 miles an hour and they flied it to center field and the game was over. 98 miles an hour will play. And I've told y'all this preseason, but I'll go ahead and reiterate it now that we've seen Grant Fontenot get the final out of LSU's one close game of the weekend. And I asked someone in the program, I said, how do you account for Fontenot's emergence here when he's been with LSU in Texas for 4 seasons and never really done anything? And the answer I got back was it just takes some guys more time. It takes some guys less time. And Fontenot's a 5th-year guy who has discovered something. And I think they're going to trust him late in games at this point. A guy that I'm confident they're going to trust late in games is the guy you saw to finish the game on Sunday, and that is Devin Sheeran. Sheeran, 2/3 of an inning, 2 strikeouts, hit 99 on the gun. The slider's very good. He missed a lot of bats as a freshman at Mount St. Mary's 2 years ago. And you just look at Sheeran, and he just looks like a big league closer. He's 6'5". He's north of 240. He can work out of the stretch. He's got that leg kick, and then he just uncoils and explodes, and that fastball is humming. And there's there's something to putting that much pressure and that much velocity on guys late in games. It's what you saw Chase Shores do last year. And I think everybody was looking at Maverick Rizzi. And look, Maverick Rizzi threw it awesome in the game on Saturday. I was at the box on Saturday. Rizzi was fantastic. But Sheeran may fit the profile a little bit better. And I think between those three guys, really, if you talk about Rizzi, Sheeran, and Fontenot, all three of those guys are 97 plus. Two of them are really physically imposing, and that's the gas late in games. That's the gas. Guidry doesn't have that, and you got some of the left-handers that you're going to see, and we'll talk about that a little bit more moving forward. But you talk about guys at the end of the game with the gas, like that's what you're looking for at the back end of the bullpen, and it's just a testament to the stuff that this staff has. So that's the positive side. Cooper Moore was brilliant. LSU missed a ton of bats. Guidry's healthy. Sheeran's healthy. Fontenot's emerging. You've got real dudes at the back end of the bullpen that gave some real trouble to this Milwaukee team. The other note that I wanted to say is that, and I put this in my piece around the horn over at LouisianaSports.net, the bullpen, so absent the three starters, the bullpen in 3 games had 22 strikeouts and 3 walks. Santiago Garcia walked 1 on Sunday. He did not have a good outing. And then Marcos Paz walked a couple later in the game. But 22 strikeouts to 3 walks for that bullpen over 3 days, that's awesome stuff. That's great to see in the strike zone, dominating stuff, missing bats. That's everything you want out of the back end of the bullpen. And that's something we talked about. This bullpen's going to have to be huge because right now LSU is searching for your weekend rotation. And I'm going to talk about those guys in the next segment because I think that Moore and Schmidt and Evans warrant a whole segment worth of conversation. But the bullpen is going to have to be crucial. And the bullpen was crucial over the weekend, and they were dominant. So great to see LSU off and running here, 3-0 on the young season. They'll play tonight against Kent State. I'll have a preview of that game in the second hour. Kent State went to Hammond this weekend and just drubbed Southeastern. So we'll talk about the Golden Flashes in hour number 2. A little basketball talk at the end of this hour as well. When we come back, more baseball next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. Looking for a commercial loan for your business, small or large? First American Bank and Trust. You're looking for a loan to get that home that you've always wanted? First American Bank and Trust. Why? Why go with First American Bank and Trust? Well, because they've been at this 116 years in Southeast Louisiana. They've got 25 branches in Southeast Louisiana. Every decision that is made at First American Bank and Trust is made in Southeast Louisiana. And the people that have worked at First American Bank and Trust in terms of the management average about 25 years with the bank. These are lifers in the community, and this bank has been here for all of your lifetimes, 116 years. So go with the local option that's got the resources to help you out. That's what 25 locations in our state will do for you. It's First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Happy Lundi Gras. Hope everybody had a great weekend. If you're out on a parade route or just enjoying some baseball or hoops, today you're out on a parade route or taking some time off, or if you're working. Appreciate you hanging with us here on this Lundi Gras. Let's talk about Kason Evans and William Schmidt, shall we? Kason Evans got the ball on Friday. William Schmidt got the ball on Sunday. Evans never found a groove in the game on Friday. He just didn't. He missed some bats. He had 7 strikeouts and 3 1/3. But he just never settled in. And there were times last year where we really saw him do that and really start to dominate. And that just never happened. I had some statistics on him in Around the Horn on LouisianaSports.net. He hit his 75 pitch limit with 1 out in the 4th inning. Gave up 6 hits, walked 2, and hit a man. And I really did think that some of the swings that Milwaukee took off of him, specifically in that 4th inning, were really pretty impressive. I mean, they were driving the ball the other way, letting the ball travel and get deep. They weren't out in front. And they were some good at-bats. But you're going to face good hitters, and you need to get guys out. And it just never really materialized for Case and Evans. It's not – I've struggled this morning with the word that I have. I think concern is a little strong, but I'm not – here's kind of where I've settled. I'm not ready to give Case and Evans the benefit of the doubt as, yes, he is the Friday night dude. This is the dude that's going to carry LSU to Omaha. Like, I'm certainly leaving the door open for him to become that. But just because you post a 2.05 ERA coming out of the bullpen as a freshman doesn't just automatically translate you to the front of an SEC rotation. And at LSU, we're spoiled. We've seen some of the best to ever do it. Aaron Nola and Skeens and Lang, Gosman, Anderson, even Holman and Jump. Like, those guys are top 2 round draft picks, top 10 picks in some cases. And it's a high bar to clear. But in the SEC, you see just dudes on Fridays. And Case and Evans, now to this point, I have watched him pitch probably 6 times between the fall, the preseason, and opening day. And it just has not, in those 6 times, looked dominant really at any point. Now, dominating LSU's lineup in practice is very difficult to do. So I'm not suggesting you have to do that. But I wished it was a little bit better than it was on Friday. That's what I'll say. And so you've got 3 more weeks to get this figured out. And I think it's a big outing for Case and Evans whenever he gets the ball this coming week. I do. And the same thing can be said for William Schmidt. The good news is that they both had good strikeout numbers. Evans struck out 7 and 3 1/3. I mean, he got 10 outs, and 7 of them were strikeouts. And then Schmidt showed some real flash. He had 9 strikeouts in the 12 outs that he got. But he ran his pitch count up to 91 in 4 innings because he just didn't have the best command. He walked a guy in the 3rd. He hit a guy in the 3rd. Both came around to score. You saw a significant amount of 3-ball counts to Schmidt, and that's going to force your pitch count up and force you out of games. I love the fact that the fastball was above 95. I loved the spin and breaking ball, and there was enough good for me to feel like there's something to work off of. But the command issue is the thing for Schmidt that is always going to be the most important thing. And when you fall behind guys and you put guys on base, which he did, they're going to score runs off of you. And Milwaukee did that. So it's 2 things. One, I'm very encouraged with the stuff that those 2 guys have. And there's been enough good to feel like you're absolutely warranted in putting those guys out there in the spot that they're in. But I'm hopeful that there's rapid development from them. I'm hopeful of that. Now, keep in mind, Anthony Ianson wasn't nearly the pitcher he was in Omaha in February. He struggled out of the blocks, and Nate Yeske got him worked out. And you got one of the best pitching coaches in the country taking this incredible clay to mold to get something put together. What I'm saying is the version of Case and Evans and William Schmidt that you saw over the weekend is not going to be good enough in SEC play. But there's reason to believe that they'll get better and that they'll have better outings. So concerned is not the word. I'm not concerned. I'm paying attention because I'd like the outings to include less free bases. I'd like them to include a little bit more efficiency, and I'd like them to not be as they gave up a lot of runs. Like they both gave up 3 earned runs, 4 earned runs in Evans' case, and 3 for Schmidt. So you understand how important the rotation is. You understand how important Friday night in the SEC is and how important those front 2 guys can be to pitching you to where you need to go. It's the most important thing on the roster. Now, LSU is in a position, unlike most in college baseball, where if you need to cut Evans or Schmidt or even more off after 4 or 5 innings, they have enough arms to cover it from the back end. It's just not the way I'd prefer to do it. I'd prefer the starters be the workhorses. LSU might be able to do it a different way, but I would prefer it if the starters were the workhorses. But like you saw, we did this exercise last week, and you saw it play out in real time over the weekend. You saw Evans give way to Cooper Williams, who was great for 2 2/3, give way to Guidry, who was electric for 2 innings. You've got a lot of guys who were very comfortable getting 6 to 8 to 10, 12 outs. And then on Saturday, you saw Schmidt have to give way to Garcia, who didn't have it. He only got 1 out. Sheeran came in, was sensational. And then Marcos Paz got you through 2 innings. And then in the game on Saturday, you've just mixed and matched with matchups. You had Cooper Moore go 6. Then Rizzi did a great job in the 7th. In the 8th, you gave the ball to Ethan Plog, and he gave up a hit to that lefty. So then you had to go to a right-hander, and Dothy came in and made the big pitch with the slider. And then you went to Cowan, and when he couldn't quite get it done and gave up the 3 hits, you brought in the gas with Fontenot. So in 2 instances, 2 out of the 3, you had guys come in for sustained periods of time, get you 6 to 8 outs, and cover ground because you weren't going to have your starters extend. And in another case, Moore did get you through 6, and the game was close, and you did feel like you needed to mix and match, and you went to different guys with different arm ankles to get better matchups, and you got it to the house. And, oh, by the way, you still have a game today, and you haven't thrown Jaden Newt yet, and I'll talk about him in the second hour. But you didn't, run out of pitching. There was not a point where you would look up and go, well, we don't have really anybody else that we trust that we could go to. Because you still had Newt, and Newt can give you significant outs. So there's proof in this pudding that this can work. I realize it's Milwaukee, it's not Tennessee, and those two things are very different. But while I'm guarded with Evans and Schmidt right now and what I think of those two guys and where they are, I understand that there is option B, and it's there. And that's a credit to Jay Johnson and Nate Yeske for building that. And you could tell in Jay Johnson's answers on Saturday and Sunday that he was very comfortable with the depth that they had created, and he was happy that they were able to use a lot of that over the course of 3 days. And, of course, you got 2 more midweek games this week before you go to Jacksonville. So you're going to get a lot of guys, a lot of mound time over the course of the first 10 days of the season. And that's something that Jay really, really likes. And it's comforting to know that you've got an insurance policy in case those 2 sophomores don't really make that jump. Now, if they do, and I wrote this at LouisianaSports.net, if those 2 guys make that jump, it makes LSU as scary a team as there is in college baseball because I think they're going to hit. And you look at what they've got from a pitching perspective, it's really deep. But I would prefer if LSU could push off the dock with a proven rotation. Moore did his part over the weekend, and Evans and Schmidt need to step up and elevate 1 notch come this weekend. That's at least the way I see it. So that's a look at a lot of the pitching. We didn't get into much offense yet at this point, but I want to, and we will. We've got a couple more segments here to get to later on in the hour. It was a huge weekend for Cade Arrambide. Big game on Sunday for Jake Brown. Trent Caraway swung the bat well. Derek Curiel, of course. Seth Dardar hit a pair of homers. Milam had 4 hits. So it was a good offensive weekend, as you would expect from LSU against a Milwaukee pitching staff that was quite overmatched, and LSU kind of hammered them for a lot of the weekend. Saved the starter on Saturday, Imke, who really limited LSU. I thought it was a bad 7 innings of offense for LSU. They sure did snap out of it on Sunday, though. So I think they'll be just fine on the offensive side of things. When we come back, big announcement from LSU Athletics today regarding their uniforms moving forward. I'll tell you what I think. Y'all know how I feel about uniforms. We'll get to that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services, boudreauxelectrical.com. Neil and Melissa, been running the show for over 40 years at Boudreaux's Electrical. You know where we live. You know we got power outages, whether it's hurricanes, those severe summer thunderstorms that come in the afternoon, even a winter event that we had 2 weeks ago. It's a drag to have your power go out, right? It's just a bummer. Give yourself a generator. Generac standby generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. They'll come in, they'll install it, they'll service it, they'll monitor it to understand if there is an issue. They can come and work on that so that when you do need your generator to spring into action, it is ready to roll. Don't wait until the hurricane's already in the Gulf in a few months. Get that taken care of now and give yourself the peace of mind that comes with having that Generac home standby generator. I know you can buy them from the big box stores. What kind of customer service are you going to get if you do that? Not very good. Go with the local option, Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Been in business 40 years. You can give them a call at the original location. That's 985-397-1562. You can also find them at 225-300-9389. Take it the easy way. Find them online at boudreauxelectrical.com. That's boudreauxelectrical.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Both LSU basketball teams were in action on Saturday. One game a little bit more impactful than the other. We'll talk about both of them to finish out the hour coming up in 15 minutes. LSU Athletics made a big announcement this morning at 9 o'clock, announcing a partnership with Woodside Energy that will extend to patches on uniforms for all 21 varsity sports at LSU, men's and women's. And y'all know how I feel about uniforms. I have a lot of pride in LSU's uniforms. I think LSU has an iconic brand that when you walk into a bar that is got 15 games on and it's just music playing over the top and there's no sound coming from the TV and you look up at the screen, you can tell when LSU is playing. If you're way in the back of the room, it's probably hard to tell if that's Alabama or Indiana. It's probably hard to tell if that's Texas A&M or Mississippi State. But it's maybe hard to tell if it's Alabama or Oklahoma. When you look at the screen, you can tell it's LSU. They wear white at home. They've got an iconic helmet. Purple and gold is a distinct color combination. It's a gorgeous and iconic brand, and I believe in maintaining that. I get physically ill when I walk into the stadium and they're wearing something that I deem to look stupid, like all white uniforms. I hate it. But that's my opinion. Doesn't make it right. It's my opinion. I think LSU has got an iconic brand, and I don't like messing with things, right? I appreciate tradition, and I like things that stick in tradition. And putting a patch on your uniform strays from that a little bit. But there's a but here. As much as I love those uniforms, and as much as I love tradition, and as much as I hate new things, I understand this is absolutely essential because you have to, in this era, keep up financially. You have to find additional revenue streams to share that money with your student athletes, to have enough money in the coffers to make the things happen that you now have to make happen this day and age. This is an absolute necessity. And to be completely clear, I sit in the press box in Tiger Stadium. I sit on press row up in the rafters of the Assembly Center. I sit in the press box or the radio booth at the box for baseball. When I look down from my vantage point on these uniforms, basketball, baseball, football, whatever, I won't even be able to see that patch. It's purple and gold. This is something that they took a lot of time in considering. So it's going to be, because Woodside Energy is a blue and red logo. They are a blue and red company. But on all these jerseys, it will be a purple and gold patch to match with the colors. I've seen the photographs they have on LSUsports.net. On the women's basketball white jersey, it's a white patch. On the baseball gold jersey, it's a gold patch. On the football white jersey, it's a white patch. I have seen some, and I can't tell what uniforms they are, but I have seen some that on a gold jersey, there's a purple patch, and on a purple jersey, there's a gold patch. That's a little bit visible, but not obnoxious in my estimation, and it's absolutely vital. We don't have the numbers to what this agreement is going to pay LSU annually. It's not just the patches. They're going to have signage up in the various venues, and it's a big-time partnership with a big company in Woodside Energy. But you have to do it. You have to get the additional revenues. I'll hate it if one day LSU takes the field at Alec Box and instead of LSU on their jersey, it says the name of a company, because like the European soccer teams, like I will hate that. That would drive me nuts. This does not. This is, one, pretty insignificant in terms of the visual, and two, vital when it comes to the financial piece to this puzzle. You absolutely have to do it. And there are going to be patches on everyone's jerseys moving forward. I talked about this previously, and I'll reiterate it now that the announcement's been made and we've seen the visuals of these patches. The New York Yankees who up until 2 years ago did not allow their players to have facial hair, have a patch on their uniform. It's an insurance company. I think it's called Scott Insurance, but it's navy, and it sits on it's same colors as the Yankees jerseys, and it sits on the front upper arm, depending on what side you hit from, and that's it. It just blends in. The Cubs for years now have had a Motorola patch on their jersey, and it doesn't. I mean, I notice it. I can see it's there, but it's not something that I think is really off-putting. So I am as traditional as they come. I am as outspoken about this, and as ridiculous as that sounds to most people, it's just an opinion. It's just not that I'm right or wrong. It's just how I feel. This, to me, is an absolutely necessary step that LSU has made. I think that they were forward-thinking on it. I think that this is something they've spent a lot of time with. I know that Woodside Energy is very, very excited about the partnership and the branding that they'll receive from such an iconic uniform at LSU. And you'll hear from Woodside Energy's CEO on AFR a little bit later today. Had some great things to say about LSU and the partnership and everything that's going to move forward. So it's I think most people would suggest, just if you listen to me talk over the years, that like this is really going to drive Hunt nuts. No, here's the deal. I can't even see it from my seat in the press box or on a small little television. And two, if this Woodside Energy patch is going to make it a little bit easier for LSU to find an edge rusher or to go get a quarterback or to go find a first baseman that can hit 20 home runs or a Friday night starter or whatever the case may be. If that's the price you've got to pay to go make that happen within reason, I'm all for it. You put 6 patches on this, and you look like a PGA Tour golfer moving forward. I might have a problem with that, but we're nowhere near that point with this partnership. This is a really positive thing for LSU, and it's something that everybody's going to have to do because you just have to keep up with the Joneses financially. I was having a conversation in the Alec Box press box on Saturday, and it's just you think about the money that's involved in everything that you're trying to do in collegiate athletics. And it's such a hard thing to keep tabs on from the outside because we just don't really know. I don't know what this basketball roster cost. I don't know what each individual transfer cost. I know that LSU had to pay Ole Miss $1 million freaking dollars to go get TJ Daugherty and Principal Uman-Mielen. Like, that money just doesn't come from anywhere. And you hear the terms donor fatigue, and you hear about coaching buyouts, and you hear about new coaches' salaries, and you hear about the revenue sharing piece to this puzzle, and like all this tens and hundreds of millions of dollars that are driving this bus that we're not, I mean, most of us on the outside are just not privy to where that money comes from or who's writing checks or what the budget looks like. You can speculate, but a lot of us don't really know. This is something that's concrete, that's understandable. That revenue sharing number is going to go up from 20 plus 20.1 north year after year after year. So to continue that number to go up with the sharing of the revenue, what also has to go up? The revenue. So if I need to get a new wide receiver and I need Woodside Energy to cut a check to be on the ladies basketball uniform, that's just what you got to have. So I'm for it. I think it's great. If you gave me the opportunity and took money out of it, would you like the patch or no patch? Well, I'm going to take no patch. But I don't get that opportunity because you got to have the money. So this is something that is a positive thing that LSU announced today. For those curious, the patch will not appear on uniforms until the 2026-27 academic year. So I think soccer will be the first team to put it on the end of this summer. And then I think volleyball is next, and then football is next, and you know how the calendar goes there. So not until this coming fall, is my understanding, is in the release that LSU sent out, it said the 2026-2027 school year. So 21 varsity sports will all have those patches on their uniform starting up in the fall. All right, we will take a time out here pretty shortly. First, let me tell you about my friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Fabry Chevrolet GMC, Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Go by and see them in February, which got about 2 weeks left in February here, 12 days. Go by and see them, as they've got incredible deals on trucks. You're looking to get a Chevy Silverado up to $11,000 off MSRP on the Silverados. You're looking for GMC, they get up to $13,000 off MSRP with those trucks. the Sierras. It's incredible, incredible stuff. You're talking 5 figures off MSRP if you go by and see them. You know you're going to get an awesome deal when you work with the folks at Fabre. You know you're going to get great customer service, a great service after the sale. They've been doing it for 35 years in this city, now on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Make the short drive up there to Fabre Chevrolet GMC or check them out online at FabreChevrolet.com. When we come back, 2 big basketball games. Well, 1 big basketball game on Saturday. We'll talk about it.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Gotros Outdoor Power. Gotros Outdoor Power. 2 locations, Baton Rouge on Airline Highway and down in Gonzales. That grass is about to start growing, and it doesn't stop until November, right? So if you need to get ahead of that this season, go get one of the Hustlers zero turn from the folks at Gotros Outdoor Power. Why would you shop with Gotros? Well, they're local, and they've got amazing customer service. You can buy a zero turn from one of the big box stores, but how are you going to get it home? Do you have a trailer? If you don't, the folks at Gotros can do it. They've got trucks that are shipping out equipment, delivering parts 8 hours a day, every day. And they handle things statewide in Louisiana. So if you're looking for a new zero turn, looking for a Hustler, go get that huge inventory, the biggest in the state, at Gotros Outdoor Power. You can find them on Airline Highway. Just look, that huge stack of orange equipment. You can't miss it on Airline. You can also find them in Gonzales as well. It's Gotros Outdoor Power. Gotros Outdoor Power.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is their website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Doesn't have to be a huge project to get One Bath and Closets involved. In fact, it can be something as simple as a tub to shower conversion. If you've got one of those big jacuzzi cubs that takes up a ton of room in your bathroom but you don't ever use it, take it out. It's got plenty of room there to put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. Change the aesthetic of your bathroom, change the functionality of your bathroom. If you're thinking, well, I've already got a shower as well. Well, they can take that shower out, put in a linen closet there. You can do a lot of different things with closets and in the bathroom, and you only have to make one call. It's the David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. Check out the great reviews on their site, onebathandclosets.com. You can also get that free consultation, get David Duvall involved. He'll tell you what they can do for you. And those tub to shower conversions, oftentimes 3 or 4 days, and it's done. 3 to 4 days, it is done. It can change the way your bathroom looks and functions. So go to onebathandclosets.com. Get that free consultation today, onebathandclosets.com. All right, LSU and South Carolina from the Assembly Center back on Saturday night. I left the box on Saturday and had dinner plans with my mom, dad, wife, and kids. And I just went over to walk-ons briefly before we went to dinner. And, man, that place was buzzing for that game on Saturday. It was a 7:30 tip-off, I think, and I was there at the game. Baseball ended at like 4. So you had about 3 hours until tip time once I got over there, and it was on fire, and the Assembly Center looked like it was on fire for the game. Obviously, these two programs do not like each other at all. They're at the top of the sport, and LSU has had no success against South Carolina. Talking 17, 18 losses in a row against Dawn Staley's program. And we said on Friday, Jordan, that like you would learn where you stood nationally based on how this game went.
100%.
And I'm looking at this, and Flaugier went to the line. LSU down 1 with 45 seconds to go.
Yep.
You can't be any closer than that. She missed them both, and then South Carolina got a bucket, and then all of a sudden you were down 3, and then you were down 5, and you ended up losing the game. But you're talking about a 40-minute game, for 39 minutes and 15 seconds, you were right there.
No, LSU had them. It's sick because Flaugier did everything in her power that fourth quarter to make sure LSU's not leaving this building without a W. Like, she did everything in her power. There was one possession right before the free throws, matter of fact, where nobody on the team could hit a shot. It's just like a hot potato.
Yeah.
Flaugier keeps crashing the glass. Somehow amongst South Carolina's 6'5" players they have. I mean, South Carolina might lead the college basketball in the most 6'3+ players. I'm talking Dawn Staley has 6'5" girls coming off the bench. Like, it's ridiculous. But yeah, Flaugier did everything in her power, and just you wouldn't have asked for anybody else to be in that moment to sit there and take those free throws. And that's in this game, and it just
missed them both.
Yeah,
I'll say this, and look, I'm not a scout for the WNBA, and I don't watch a ton of SEC women's basketball. And I know that Tessa Johnson's a very good player.
Yes.
I don't think if you play that team again in March, she's just going to be splashing threes that never touch the rim, just back to back to back from outside. I mean, she was 4 or 5 from 3 in the game. And again, they were showing the highlights. They were not hitting the rim.
Nope.
Just whoosh, splash from outside. And Kim, they showed the huddle. For those that were at the game, you may not have seen this because it was on the television copy. But Kim looks at her team at one point in a timeout and goes, "Who can guard Tessa?" And like you saw a bunch of people just looking around. Their one hand went up.
Yes.
She was just feeling it and finished the game 8 of 13 from the floor. Had 21 points. You mentioned Flau'jae was doing it all for LSU. Also had 21 points. Just 2 of 6 from the free throw line for Flau'jae.
That's crazy.
That's another one that's just not going to happen very often. And so you look at this game. And you look at the way it played out, and if you were to play that team again, now keep in mind, you've got a raucous Assembly Center behind you. I'm not going to diminish that at all. But LSU can play with South Carolina.
Yeah,
LSU can beat South Carolina. Would I pick LSU to beat South Carolina?
Nope.
I would not. Can they beat them? Yeah. Like 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I guess now, when they won the national championship, I don't know if LSU could have beat South Carolina. It didn't look like it. Caitlin Clark could. And she did. And then LSU played the best game they played all year and beat Iowa. And maybe if they shoot like that against South Carolina like they did in that game where they scored 50 in the first half, maybe they win that game. But you need a little help that year. I think LSU can play this team straight up. I do, at least based on what I saw on Saturday.
No, they can. It's just LSU. I'm not even going to say South Carolina won the game. And I hate to be this way, but I really just think LSU lost the game. Like, they had every opportunity to win that game.
I mean, you look at some of the line scores from your key players. Jada Richard, 1 of 10. She's been great this year, 1 of 10. Malaysia Fulwiley, you get the drama there. She's come from South Carolina, 1 of 8 from the floor. Those two, Jada Richard and Malaysia Fulwiley, go 2 of 18 from the floor and 0 of 5 from 3.
Michaela felt kind of quiet, too. What
5 of 12.
Yeah, Michaela.
I mean, she had 11 points. So you didn't play your best. You were at home, which helps. You didn't play your best. Tessa was knocking shots down from everywhere, and you played them to a 1-point game where you were at the free throw line with 45 seconds to go.
Yes.
If you got to play this thing again in March somewhere, throw the ball up, let's go. That's kind of where I am on that. I think South Carolina's better, but I think LSU's got a shot. So that was kind of what I learned from the game on Saturday. Also on the hardwood Saturday was the LSU men's basketball team. We've got 3.5 minutes to go in the hour, so we'll give them this 3.5 minutes here. They played the game without De'Don Thomas, who's out for the year, which is just crippling. And then they played it without Max McKinnon, who was injured in the midweek game and is not healthy enough to go out there and play. So now you're taking the floor with no De'Don Thomas, who's your point guard, who's your leading scorer and your leading assist guy, Max McKinnon, who's your best off-ball mover and scorer, and then you're obviously playing without Jalen Reed, who's been out for the year. So this roster was put together a certain way, and it needed those pieces to even have a fighting chance. And you didn't. You scored 63 points, which is probably candidly more than I thought they would score down that many players. You had a lead briefly in the second half of this game, but it's just not going to be enough against a good team like Tennessee, and they're really good defensively. It just wasn't going to be doable for LSU. Matt McMahon went to the podium after the game, said, "I was really proud of our players for their fight and their resolve that we showed. I thought we had some guys really contribute for us. Jalen Reese grew up, freshman point guard. He was fantastic, made a lot of good things happen, and we only had 3 turnovers." That is why LSU was even in this game. They weren't going to shoot a high percentage with that group out on the floor, without McKinnon, without Thomas. Like, you're not going to be – but you have to get a lot of shots to score points. And they got a lot of shots because they only turned the ball over 3 times against one of the better defensive teams in the Southeastern Conference, a top 30 defensive efficiency team that Tennessee is. LSU, showed up, but just not. You don't have nearly enough firepower. So I do expect that when LSU plays in Austin tomorrow night, that Max McKinnon will play. That's my expectation at this point. But again, you're 2-10 in the league, so it just is. It is what it is. This thing went off the rails, and I just 2 things can be true. Two things can be true. Matt McMahon has not won enough games. That is true, and the luck he has been quite poor. I think that is also true. Whatever slice of the pie you want to give to each of those the poor effort, poor job, injuries, bad luck. You assign whatever you want. I'm not telling you what you need to do. I'm just suggesting that both of them deserve a slice of the pie because it's just not a lot of teams in LSU's status that are going to be able to absorb injuries to maybe your 3 best offensive players, especially considering this is an offense-first team that now cannot play offense. That's going to be a difficult way to win games. So it was competitive for longer than we thought it was going to be competitive for LSU in Knoxville, but certainly Tigers can't get it done. So they'll lace them up again in Austin, Texas, completing the Orange UT two-step from Knoxville to Austin. They'll play tomorrow night against the Longhorns and then come on back home. But Tigers fall to 2-10 in SEC play. So you missed any of our first hour? Catch it on demand. First 30 minutes of the show today, we talked nothing but LSU, basically LSU pitching over the weekend. Saw some great stuff from Cooper Moore, some not as good stuff from Kason Evans and William Schmidt, and then some great work from a lot of the guys in the bullpen. So if you missed a lot of that, want to listen to some baseball talk, you can do that on demand wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. Check them out on YouTube. Our entire shows are archived every single day, so you can find that there. Talked a little bit about LSU's new agreement with Woodside Energy to put patches on all of their uniforms and my thoughts on that. You can find that at Hunt on LSU, wherever you find your podcast, and then a little basketball talk there to finish off the hour. We got a lot to do in hour number 2 as well. We're going to talk about LSU and Kent State tonight. Kent State, big effort from them in Hammond over the weekend. They swept Southeastern and really dominated all 3 games. They've got a guy that comes in with huge slugger numbers. We'll talk about that in the second hour. We'll also get in some SEC baseball from over the weekend as well, and some Saints. Should they make a move for a veteran running back? We'll pause for Sports Center, national headlines at the top of the hour. Come back with more.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Lifetime Roofing. LifetimeRoofingLA.com is the website. That's LifetimeRoofingLA.com. Look, roofs are important down here. We understand that. You've got significant weather risks most of the year. So you should take that very seriously when you consider who is going to inspect and potentially work on or replace your roof. Do it with a local company, Lifetime Roofing, right here in Baton Rouge. They care about the community, and they're here to help you. They'll give you that inspection. If you need a new roof, they'll help you get a new roof. They can help you finance that roof as well, 0% for 18 months. If you just need a repair, they'll just do the repair. It doesn't always mean you need a full new roof. And if you're looking to buy one in the retail market, they can do that for you as well with those financing options. You're about to sell your home, need to get that new roof put on. Check with the folks at Lifetime Roofing. As of January 1st, a lifetime workmanship warranty on the workmanship and on the materials. It's Lifetime Roofing, LifetimeRoofingLA.com.